It took 10 years for one of my videos to go viral, and now that I am famous, I have decided that I cannot be expected to work in these conditions anymore. It's a garage. I need a studio. Mostly I just need a roof between my house and the garage, because every time I carry my gear down here in the rain, can you hear the rain? Can you hear the rain? I get soaked. I am soaked. I am now a famous internet prepping influencer. I don't own a raincoat. Also, I'm really unhappy. Is that better? That's okay. I can live with that. I have limited lighting equipment. I took my umbrella on a shoot for work, you know? I don't need a job anymore. I'm famous now. But yeah, now I just got a bare bulb right there, casting my face in harsh contrast. My face is one that does not need harsh contrast.
My face is one.
That's the problem with fame, though. You know, I don't really own my face anymore. It belongs to my public. If you are new to this channel, you are watching the freshest episode of the Gribbly's Folly Sunday Antisocial Hour. That time each week when I smoke my pipe and complain about humanity while answering all of its questions. And if you are a piece of humanity with a question for me, leave it in the comments down below using the hashtag AskGribbs, and I will answer any question. Most of what I just said is no longer true. I do not smoke my pipe with you guys every week. I wish that I could. I have run out of time. The dwindling minutes between now and the twilight of my life are too few. And I can't. That sounds really dark. The Helene prepping video was one of several major projects that I had in the beginning part of this year. I mean, we're now halfway through the year. 2025 is almost halfway over. Which reminds me, I need to do a timestamp. It is, as I'm recording this, it is Friday, May 30th. It will run on Sunday, May 32nd. So yeah, by the time you see this, officially into June, the year is half over. I've spent the year on major projects, one of which was the Helene prepping video that has finally come to fruition and is now the biggest thing I have ever done in my life. 10 years of trying to live out my own joy on this channel. What do people want to see? Normally it's they want to see me complain. No, they wanted to see me cry, which I actually did several times in the filming of that video and then edited out later because I have toxic masculinity. There was so much that I left out. We're going to get to that. But yeah, thank you. Thank you to everyone who is normally a regular here and to everyone who is new and everybody that was just passing by. I have no idea how to even express what this means for me. I live a life where I'm struggling to be seen all the time. Like, we're going to get into that too, maybe not today, but you know, if you were an artist in this day and age, you're like, the job is just being seen, is just getting eyes on your work. And then to get eyes on your work for a good reason, like to have people say, hey, this really helped me, or like this video moved me or made me think, like, that's amazing. As of today, this moment, there are 360 some odd comments on that video. The video is 20 times more popular than anything else I have ever done. It sounds corny, but to know that I have given value to people, I am, it's a rare time when I am speechless. So if you're new here, if you have just subscribed, we do, this is what we do. This is our thing. I talk and people ask me questions and I answer them. And people keep coming back for that. I don't know why. Today, I am smoking my Missouri Meerschaum Hardwood, and in it, some Gaslight from GLP's, gifted to me by Les Brady. Thank you, Les. And I'm wearing a new hat, as you can see. My wife got me this in the wake of, well, everything. We have certain precepts here in the Gribbly's Folly Sunday Antisocial. The first among them is Elvis may be king, Clapton may be God, Bruce is the boss. It's a sign of our times that a previous president, President Obama, gave Bruce Springsteen a Medal of Freedom, and the current president issues veiled threats and insults his skin. If there's anyone that shouldn't be insulting anyone else's skin, I am beset with an increasing paranoia. And I look at the way things are going, and I think, you know, in 10,000 years, when archaeologists are sifting through the layer of radioactive sediment and come to our civilization, and they find a pipe smoker's skeletal corpse with its bony fingers clamping around its smartphone, and there's like 1% of the battery left, and they pull up the phone and it's my channel. I just want to say, archaeologists in the future, if you're wondering how this particular civilization fell, we don't know either. I'm just a prepping influencer. I don't know. That doesn't mean I have a grasp of the larger geopolitics behind this situation. I just know we're all going to die. And instead of like the Pompeii couple clinging to each other, we'll be looking at our smartphones when the pyroclastic flow rolls in. I have so much to say in the wake of the Helene video, and there was so much that I left out. I'm going to go ahead and we need to take this moment while I'm thinking of it. I recorded that video on the 6-month anniversary. It took me 2 months to edit the video. And so some people were like, wait a minute, it's 8 months since the storm. That's why. I did record it on March 27th, and then the way my life is, I have projects backlogged for months, and that's why that happened. So yes, you were right, the math did not check out. I did actually note that, but then I ended up cutting it because the video was like 45 minutes long. And there's so much other stuff I had to cut, like me blubbering about how traumatized I am. But what I was gonna say is there were a lot of comments about FEMA and about people with alternative facts about how FEMA abandoned North Carolina, and because so much of the video was my emphasis on like you're on your own, I think they felt emboldened. They felt that I was in agreement. No, FEMA did an excellent job here. The federal government did an excellent job here. And for background on that, I am a longtime small government libertarian anti-federal guy. That's my default position. I don't like big government, which is why it's so mind-boggling to watch my fellow Western North Carolinians refuse help from the government, complain that the government isn't doing anything, and that the FEMA response was a giant conspiracy to take the lithium from our soil and then vote for who they voted for. You think that was government overreach? Nothing makes any sense anymore. All of my gun-toting prepper brethren who for years told us that they needed their assault rifles to defend themselves from tyranny, they watched the news about masked federal agents coming into our cities and small towns across the several states and picking up people off the street, and they're like, yeah, that's cool. What? Do you remember Jade Helm? Do you remember when we all thought Obama was gonna stage a military coup? Do you remember the COVID lockdowns when all the anti-government, the electric boogaloo, you guys protested about government overreach? I'm from North Carolina, where you carried a rocket launcher into Subway. Where are you now? Defend me from tyranny. Here I am, a hapless fat white liberal in Asheville, North Carolina. I depend on you guys. You're the saviors here. Until you're willing to stick to the values that you've professed all these years. Maybe don't get on my channel and come at me for saying that Helene came out of the Gulf of Mexico and that now it's called the Gulf of America. Sure it is. So excuse the rant, but I don't want to be, after all the self-sufficiency, anti-government talk, I don't want to be misconstrued. People here are not pleased. We are not pleased that the president, after coming here and campaigning in front of our destroyed homes and saying that he would do a much better job than Joe Biden, has now cut recovery funding for Western North Carolina and wants to dismantle FEMA. We are not pleased that our congressman, who called out Donald Trump during Helene and said, hey, stop spreading lies about FEMA, is now on the task force to dismantle FEMA. So when a couple of these fascist sympathizers leave comments asking why my video about Helene comes off as a bit angry and condescending, number one, I was born that way. And number two, one commenter says, rework the video, too much drama. I'm sorry, next time there's a disaster that destroys my town, I will try to make a video that's a little less passionate. I guess fame has its price, you know? Now I know how Taylor Swift feels. But by and large, the comments on this, I mean, we're having fun ranting, right? But like by and large, the comments on this video really made me feel good. And I know that I bitch about like all the other stuff I do never getting attention. If this is the thing that is really valuable to people, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled about that because obviously it's a huge deal in my life, and if I can offer something good from that's great. I'm satisfied. Regulars, we will get to your comments, and we'll get to some of them today. But don't think that I've lost sight of the little people. Several people have mentioned Bill Farston's book, 1 Second After, which takes place in Asheville and Black Mountain and Swannanoa, in all the areas that were really hard hit. That book is about an EMP strike that shuts down electricity across North America. Little bit of a different situation. But I know Bill, and he's a really interesting guy, and he is super passionate about that idea and about like how dangerous it is to think that society is just going to keep on moving. He's a really interesting guy, by the way. I should have him on the channel now that I'm famous. As you can see, this famous joke, it's not going to get old. Not this video. I've had several people say they want to use my video to teach others. Thank you. That's an honor. Shine Island 7447 says you could write a fantastic book. I have written several books, not about prepping per se, but while we're here, the Gribley's Folly concept is expressed in a book that I wrote in 2020 during the worst of the COVID situation, and there was a piece from it that I cut about prepping and about my thoughts on prepping, and I drew a lot from that from the video. So if you want the book, I don't know I'm a terrible business person. I don't know how much the book is. It's like less than $20. It's an ebook. It's on my website. I'll put a link below if you want it. If you don't, whatever, that's okay. Everybody was like, I'm so glad you're not selling anything. So now I don't want it. Now I'm like really paranoid. I don't want to sell anything, especially not my Patreon that you can join for only $3 a month. And then you get access to everything that's going on in here. That's a great deal. On the subject of 1 Second After, Two Homestead says this video is great because it makes people realize that prepping is not just for the diehards who feel that the world will completely implode. The world will completely implode. It's only a matter of time. And at that point, we've all got bigger problems than I can address in a prepping video on YouTube. But until that point, and actually increasing in frequency until we get to that point, we're going to have a lot of disasters. Look at what happened in Kentucky last week. I mean, this is the time of year when I fall into the tornado rabbit hole and I'm watching like live feed of radar and stuff like that. And when I watched those tornadoes hit Kentucky, it was a very different feeling than last year when I watched the same thing. Every year during tornado season, I get obsessed. And but yeah, you know, when you see the debris ball on the radar, it's a different feeling after you've been through something like Helene. You know, you're watching people's lives get erased, and you know, and then there's, I don't know if it might just be conjecture that those storms were not warned properly because of what's happening to the National Weather Service. The fall, the big 1 second after Bill Farston style fall, will be preceded by lots of small descents, and that's what we're seeing now. But yes, Two Homesteads is correct. We need to prepare for regular life, and far more people will undergo something like Helene or Hurricane Hugo or tornadoes than will be able to be effective in a large scale, you know, end of civilization kind of situation. There are a ton of questions in the comments that I want to answer. I wanted to get to this one. Jamie6 says, thank you so much for this video. Do you think we'll ever have an accurate count of how many deaths there were due to Helene? I never felt like we were getting the whole story. I hesitate to speak on this because I don't know. I don't know. I'm just some guy. I don't have any inside information. I think that from what I understand, all the people who were officially missing have been accounted for, except for like one or two up in outlying counties, and they will probably never be found. But we know that they were in an area that was completely flooded. You know, it's not a mystery what happened. We just don't have a body. That's all the people that were on the list, and I think it's 100 and something locally, meaning in Western North Carolina, where that falls short. So okay, background is during the immediate aftermath, there were all these folks coming in, and they were. It makes me furious. There were people who would park on the roadside next to a bunch of debris, and they would say, "You can smell the bodies in this pile of debris." And they were just through here with cadaver dogs, and they were putting down little markers where they thought there was a body. And there's a field of markers going down the road a half a mile. But they wouldn't actually show the markers because they were full of shit. So when you come out and you say there's 10,000 people dead, what you're doing is minimizing and delegitimizing the actual dead and the actual body count. And so I very much want to draw that line. This was not a 10,000 dead event. I don't even think it was a 1,000 dead event. However, in our society, there are people that we call the lesser dead, and this is a phenomenon that extends across a lot of different issues. Serial murder is one where, you know, if you kill a white college girl, you're probably caught. If you kill a hooker of color, you're probably not. I first came across this is horrible. I first came across this concept learning about Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy, and because they targeted gay young men, often runaways or people on the edges of society, they weren't caught for a really long time. There were encampments of homeless people by the river. There were whole communities of illegal immigrants by the river. Are those people accounted for? Well, they weren't accounted for before the storm. So that's what worries me. That we can't know who went missing if we didn't know they were there to begin with. We're going to have to come back to stuff. I got a great comment. I actually took a screenshot of it about a comment about toilet seats. We're going to have to come back to that in another video because this is going long. We got to be concise now. We're famous. Now we finally get to the questions from the regulars, the longtime friends of the channel. Thank y'all so much. Thank y'all so much for, you know, forming the bedrock that has now made me a global prepping celebrity. John Galdieri says, if you're driving in your car, John, which subscriber were you? Weren't you like my 10th subscriber or something like that? Oh, we need to talk about this too. 10 years. 10 years. And we got to do something. It's going to happen in November. I think my first video was in November of 2015. And I am humbled by the impact that all of this has had on my life. Yeah, we gotta think of something good. What do you want to see? Regulars only. Hashtag Ask Gribs, hashtag regulars only. We're gonna need a better name. A better name for the regulars. Griblarians, Gribotics. I mean, you know how big YouTubers, they got a name for their fans? We're gonna have to do that now. I'm gonna have to start saying smash that like button. All right, John Galdieri says, if you are driving in your car and approach an impassable fire, is it acceptable to practice stop, drop, and roll your car safely to the other side of the fire? And by roll your car, I don't think you mean on its wheels. That is how you judge whether a trip is successful. Did any of the parts of your car, other than the tires, touch the ground? I think that, yes, it's entirely acceptable. If you can, I don't have a roll cage in my Honda Civic, but after this question, I might install one. The problem is the center of gravity in a Civic is so low, it would be very hard to turn it fast enough to start the roll. And so then it makes me think I'm gonna need a jack that I can deploy, like a spring-loaded, like from Twisters, where he's got the drills but only on one side, an outrigger on one side that just jackhammers my car over onto its side with enough force to keep it rolling through the fire. My Civic has 187,000 miles on it. And when I hit 200, we're doing this. Rafa asks Gribs, best rock guitarist ever. Rafa, I am aware that I have not made any progress on your guitar video. I think about it, actually a lot. I think about how I'm going to make that video. At this rate, I mean, the Helene video only took 6 months, right? So any day now. But I've been thinking about this question, and this is not technically a correct answer, but I'm going to say James Hetfield. Best rock guitarist ever. I can't think of another guitar player. Well, okay, Billy Gibbons, Chuck Berry, but I can't think of another. But I think that the standard answers of like Hendrix or Allman or Stevie Ray Vaughan. Yeah, those guys are great guitarists. They're amazing, and they're technically. I mean, Hendrix actually wasn't technically that proficient. He was a pretty sloppy player, but that doesn't matter. I think that the thing is, though, they were guitar players. They were not necessarily a driving force in a rock and roll environment. I know that having just said that, I'm probably losing more subscribers than I did with the Gulf of Mexico thing. But the thing is, you listen to Hendrix play guitar. You don't listen to Hendrix to get a full experience of rock and roll. If Hendrix wasn't a great guitar player, you would never listen to the Jimi Hendrix Experience. So I'm defining the criteria. Guys like Billy Gibbons or Hetfield, and I know Hetfield is metal and not rock. Guys like John Fogerty. These guys created an experience with the guitar that was bigger than guitar playing. And the reason that I chose Hetfield is that his guitar playing was the bedrock that started a genre, like that started the modern metal genre. And so I think in terms of influence, it's really hard to argue against James Hetfield. Modern metal was built on his right hand technique. Like it is the world would be different if not for James Hetfield's guitar playing. Oh, but I'm completely wrong, actually. It's Angus Young. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Angus, yeah, it's totally... Well, okay, hold up. Angus is amazing. No, it's Angus Young. What I was going to say is Malcolm Young is actually a big part of Angus Young's sound. Angus Young could be Angus Young because Malcolm was back there filling in all the gaps in Angus's playing. Not that Angus... Not mistakes, but... The best thing about AC/DC is the way is how sparse it is. There is not much going on in an AC/DC song, and yet it sounds incredibly full and incredibly powerful. And a lot of that came down to the interplay between Malcolm and Angus Young. But yeah, Angus Young. Darren3627 says, when are you going to do an Elizabethan mixture review? Time to get back on that horse. If I get on that horse, its mane, the shiny horse mane, it would be full of vomit. Les Brady said, would you rather meet your favorite author or your favorite character? I'd have to go with both. Because, of course, it's Jesus who wrote the Bible. This is a really interesting question, actually, because, one of my favorite pieces of literature is the Harry Potter series, and I do not want to meet J.K. Rowling. Also, I love, as you know, I love Cormac McCarthy, and I would definitely rather meet Cormac McCarthy than any of his characters because those people are scary. I read a lot of biographies, and I wouldn't want to meet a biographer because they're really boring, nor would I want to meet, like, Stalin. I'm going to go with, I would, if I could meet anyone, I would like to meet the kids from It. Prior to the underage gangbang, the kids from It. Finally, I have saved the best for last. I watched this meme unfold, knowing this question would eventually come down to me. Grant Reynard asked Gribbs, who wins, 100 people or a gorilla? This thought experiment actually has a Wikipedia article, which I just skimmed, but I did not let it influence my answers. But I wanted to make sure we get our precepts correct. 100 unarmed men, male humans, against one gorilla. I don't see how the gorilla wins. There's 100 of us, I think numbers, community is everything. You're going to take casualties. You're going to lose a lot of good men. But I think that 4 or 5. Okay. Let's imagine 2 men for each limb and the head. So that's 10, right? And then the others just start pummeling the torso. I don't know though. A torso is pretty thick on a gorilla. Maybe you just have everyone else concentrate on the head and just punch as hard as you can. Like once you break the zygomatic arch, the rest of the skull gets pretty mushy. So you lose 10 or 15 guys, and then you got another 15 who are like never going to be able to use their right hand again. But I think the gorilla goes down. And with that, I can't really think of a better way to wrap up the first Sunday Antisocial in the new famous era. That's we're certainly closing this one up with dignity and class. Thank you so much for everything, and I will see you soon. We got a lot more stuff to talk about, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and a lot of creative projects that are still embargoed. I'm working for clients, and I can't release their stuff yet, so that's a thing. But yeah, stay tuned. We got more to come, and it's going to be fun. Keep the ends out for the ties that bind.